I'm very, very excited about this video. It's Sending Love to the Baby in the Womb from Advanced Theta Healing by Nianell. So you can buy the book. It is published by Hay House. And I am studying Theta Healing, and it's really, really amazing. And Sending Love to the Baby in the Womb is one of those exercises or offers in Theta Healing that can just change everything for you. Absolutely everything. And I know this because it changed absolutely everything for me. All right. So welcome to the video. My name is Adrian Nelson. I'm a holistic wellness practitioner, and I am very passionate about helping people to discover their magic and to expand it and to benefit from it and to maintain it from it, to maintain it and to grow from it. And I have just found such pure magic in Theta Healing. I've been a hypnotherapist for about five and a half years now, and it's very, very fulfilling. I really, really liked it. But I was really looking for that something next level. I wanted to find a way to be able to support my clients faster in a more lasting sort of way. And I spent quite a lot of time then studying rapid transformation hypnosis, which is exceptional. But I was kind of just looking for something more. I was looking for something deeper, with my hypnotherapy, with my Reiki, with my tarot. And those are wonderful things. I love them. And, but I felt something else calling me. And maybe you're looking for something. And, as I always like to say, when it comes to Theta Healing, before even thinking about becoming a practitioner, before you think about becoming an instructor or anything like that, before you think about the fact that, it's accredited through the Think Institute and like international accreditation and so on and so on and so forth, the possibility of, getting sort of like a PhD in metaphysical science, through University of Sedona, before you get to any of those things. It is such a personal gift to yourself. I'm telling you, it is. I am so grateful to the universe that this came into my life, and especially baby in the womb healing. And in a session, and I'm very new to this, but remember, for me, it's a very natural expansion, and I'm pretty positive that all of the trainers are amazing. I'm pretty sure they're all exceptional, because this is such a beautiful modality that's founded and maintained in love by Nianell. But my coach is just amazing. She's Nianell, and she teaches online any person, and there is a link in the description for her. You can check her out. You can see what's coming up. You can register there. You can reach out to her. She's a really amazing person. She is a really, really amazing person that only wants the best for you in life. And that is why it really resonated with me to study with her, because my intention for you is always only the best in life. I want you to win. All right? So let me tell you a little story, and I'm going to read you a little bit from the book, but let me tell you a little story first. So all of my life, I'm 42 now. I turned 42 yesterday, actually. July 8th, 2024, I turned 42. So all my life, I have known that I was part of a twin. I knew that I had a twin. I even knew his name was Paul. And I wanted to ask my parents about it, but my spiritual team, so just to backtrack a little bit, there were some complications. Actually, it was kind of part of the story, but let me tell you this anyway. So there were some complications during my birth, and I got stuck on the way down. I got suffocated. I was my mom's first child, and my mom is short. I'm really not that tall either. I'm 1.74 meters. I don't know how much it is in feet, but what I can tell you is it's the same height as Tom Cruise. We both consider it the same height. So depending on where I am in the world, some people consider me tall, some people consider me skinny, short, and some people like, I don't know, medium height, whatever, Anyways, so there was an emergency cesarean that was performed, and from what I understand, I have been dead for, I think, something like 6 seconds, if I recall correctly. But I remember having that experience. You know that people speak about the holograph sort of like experience, um, sort of like when they speak about near-death experiences. I remember having that experience, and it was sort of like an, I suppose like when you think of like a sci-fi movie, something AI like, because it's like this light that was sort of like looking at this holograph. It's not really a screen, but it's more like a conscious awareness. But I realized what the impact would be on this planet and my parents and everybody all involved if I didn't come here. So I came to this planet quite begrudgingly. But I knew that I had a twin, and I kind of thought, did I get a twin, and was my twin maybe given up at birth? But somehow my spiritual team. So when you have things like that, especially following a near-death experience, you are normally naturally quite attuned because you started to live. So you started to, as you come into this plane, there's a lot of preparation that takes place, for you to be able to adapt to being on this planet. And a lot of times babies just don't sort of get it, or they like, no, it's not going to, like, and then a lot of times we have things like miscarriages and things like that. Um, so at the last moment I decided to come in. So I was dead for a little bit and then I came alive. And when I tell people I remember being born, I remember the light coming down into the body, you know. And actually also just to mention to you as well, with Theta Healing, and I'm going to tell you a story about this. Before I was a Theta Healing practitioner, when I was just a quantum regression hypnosis practitioner, with Theta Healing, it's recommended that we don't do sessions for somebody who's pregnant, especially not in your first trimester. Because remember that the baby comes here for a whole lot of things. The soul comes here with its plan. But if you then change the vibration, you change the setup when you do a Theta Healing, a session or a series of sessions, then the person and the family who was a perfect match might no longer be a perfect match for the baby. So the soul might decide to leave. All right, nobody's fault, but there's a reason why we don't do it. So an experience that I had, I remember that a client came to me, it must have been about 3 years ago, and I was doing a lot of hypnosis sessions at that time because I loved them. They were really magical, and you get magical things happening. Like I remember this one week I had four clients, four regression hypnosis clients. It was an in-person, two online, and an in-person. And these people don't know each other because they're like from different parts of the world, you know. And the two people that are around here in Cape Town, they were like from very different walks of life, so I actually asked them, their paths have never crossed. But every one session started with the same thing. We're speaking about the blue people that they were coming from, and they were missing home, and obviously later on I kind of, they actually spoke, and they all said Anunnaki. And like at this point, I must have heard Anunnaki somewhere in passing, but because with regression hypnosis, you normally you kind of like put a person in trance, and then you take them to like a safe place, which is like a place where you feel nice and comfortable. And then you, like different people do it different ways, but I'll probably be like, okay, so where's the consciousness taking me? Because you already know what the subconscious want to show you, what the higher self want to show you. And all of them started at the same place. But then, so with this person came to me for a tarot reading first, and because I'm a very strong intuitive, and I will admit that at that time I was still hiding behind tarot cards a bit because I was kind of apprehensive about just doing mediumship sessions like outright. I was just nervous about it. And I also realized how quickly people can kind of get addicted to it, But that's of course because I didn't have strong boundaries set in place back then. But anyway, so this person came to me for a tarot reading, and I saw she had a girl. She already had a girl, like a baby, like a toddler actually. And she really wanted another child. And I said to her that I saw a boy that was coming in for her very clearly. I could see the boy coming in. And then, as it actually turns out, she didn't tell me this, but as it turns out, she actually had a reading with another oracle card reader as well, who also saw the baby. Who's a really amazing oracle card reader, by the way, who also saw the baby. Then she had the hypnosis session. And then after the hypnosis session, which was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful session of releasing so many non-serving beliefs and patterns, when she then went back to this oracle card reader, the baby was no longer there. And when I checked, the baby was no longer there as well. So I asked my spiritual team that called themselves Smile, like you all, what up? Like, what is this all about? You know, because things went very south very quickly. And funny enough, not really from the client side, from this oracle card reader side, it was just, you know, sometimes when we're really passionate about helping our clients, I think that sometimes we can adversely cause a lot of pain, you know. But I do believe that the intention was still very good, but that's not really the point. So I asked my spiritual team, Smile, like, what is this about? And they said that this child was going to come into this life, and this child was going to actually help his mother progress in quite a powerful way. But, you know, it was going to be quite a tumultuous sort of thing. I also knew that at some point this child would go to jail. So we were going to help the mother with this grand awakening. But because she had the awakening in the hypnosis sessions, sort of bending time basically, so to speak, you know, ridding a lot of karma, there was no longer a necessity for that soul to come here. And one thing I know about souls is that a lot of times, if they don't have to come here, or they don't see the necessity to come here, they're not going to come, because it's a real challenge to be on planet. I mean, it's amazing, you know, and there's many souls that would like to come here because this place is like a paradise, but this place is also challenging. And when you come here to really support somebody in such a big sort of way, you know, you have to think about it. There's a lot of karma involved, and once you get into the loop of karma, you know, you might have a bit of a challenging time getting out of the loop again. You know, and that is obviously where things like Theta Healing is amazing as well. So that is the reason why we do not do sessions for people that are pregnant. Okay. And if you're going to come to because I'm going to ask you right away if you are pregnant. So if you're going to come for a session, be it online, be it in person, I ask you if you are pregnant, and you tell me no, onus is going to be on you. But then again, I will see the baby, you know, but I'm just letting you know that's a risk that you take. Okay. So, oh yes, I was still telling you about my twin. So, but I've had a sense of loneliness. So what can sometimes happen is that a baby can like maybe one baby absorbs the other one, or maybe you know, maybe the other one was like in the fallopian tube. So what I then came to understand last week, you know, in my advanced Theta Healing coaching, is that my spiritual twin died very, very young. So we incarnated together. He died very, very young. He stayed with me in spirit in the womb. And my first instinct was to get angry, because I knew that this would be a challenging life. Hence the reason why I wanted to leave, and I was hesitant to come. And I felt sort of betrayed, you know. How dare you leave me? But then I came to understand that my twin never really came to be in this life. The twin came to support me while I was in the womb, until I was ready to get into this world. You know, and that was a very grateful, beautiful thing for me, you know. So you make realizations that you would never have thought about, because the information comes from the Creator. It's not why you make up and like, oh, well, I think I believe, that sort of thing, you know. So that was quite a thing for me, and I kind of also got that, you know, at that last moment I actually wanted to leave, and I understood something that all along I had my one finger up. I think it was my left hand, if I remember correctly, because there's not really like sides and stuff in the spiritual plane. So he actually left, and that was us leaving. And so I remember that's why there was almost like a sense of sadness for me, and I just kind of like went into the body, and I was just going to do it. Now, another thing that was quite exhausting for me, and this, when you look at I already did a video about healing the broken soul. I don't think I mentioned it in there, but something that really put a lot of pressure on me, and this is how these beautiful things work together, these different offers in Theta Healing, is that I would actually jump from lifetime to lifetime, so incarnation to incarnation, more than other souls would. All right, because I'm actually a highly ascended master that comes in to help. But then it's almost like I just wanted to get it out of the way. Because remember that we often have this idea that, you know, in the soul consciousness, you're ever so wise and you don't make mistakes, but it's still just consciousness. And so it's quite amazing when you actually channel, energy like a spirit, like a past loved one, like a deceased loved one. They're pretty much the same they were in this life. Pretty much the same. You know, same personality. They often show up in the same way. But let me just read this for you. So, just to let you know, okay, so I don't have the book with me now, but this sending love to the baby in the womb is also sort of like discussed in the first Theta Healing book. I think it says just Theta Healing. So I've got like a blue cover. And this is like sort of like the second one in the range, so to speak. All right, but I feel that this book gives you better. Okay, so and then Vina Stable actually says that the author and the founder of Theta Healing actually says that, you know, this exercise was presented in Theta Healing, which was the first book, but it is of such importance that it is worth including here again. All right, so conception. How were you conceived? All right, because your conception has a lot to do with your path forward in this life. If you were conceived in fear, then there's fear going around. You know, maybe your mother had to hide the pregnancy. Maybe you were unwanted child. Maybe you were a teenage pregnancy. You know, maybe there was some sexual trauma that went along with your conception. You know, maybe it's not necessarily that there might have been sexual violation, but maybe your mother didn't want a child. Maybe she didn't feel ready for a child. Maybe your father didn't want you. You know, maybe your parents were concerned about, you know, taking care of you. Maybe they were not ready to take care of a child. It's very easy to blame our parents sometimes. But the funny thing is that's actually quite ironic, but it's also very empowering to know that because we are a genetic copy of our parents, you know, their blueprints merge into one, like water mixed with food coloring and it becomes, you know, like something different, colored water. That we inherit their genetic patterns, we inherit their fears, their skills, their talents, their shortcomings, all of those sort of things. So the things that about your parents that typically bother and annoy you, you're actually seeing it from the side that is inside of you. So you can actually go against that, and that's why it's so powerful when you heal your parents. But when you understand, or when you forgive them, when you understand, there's quite a tremendous amount of healing when you realize that that is inside of you as well. It can be very, 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 very powerful, very, very enriching for your life, all right, very empowering actually. So how were you conceived? Were you wanted or not? Some of you may have been born when people weren't using contraceptives as they are now. Now, I just want to add with us that there's literally no mistake when it comes to a baby. My coach, who is amazing, I'm pretty sure that all the Theta Healer coaches are amazing, but my coach is amazing, and I'm putting a link for her in the description. Her name is Nianell. She told a story that a lady had a what you call the thing where you have your womb removed, you know. Is it a vasectomy or is that what guys do? I can't remember now, but you know the thing where the ladies have the womb removed. And this kind of goes against quote unquote the natural laws of biology, but this lady carried the baby to term in her fallopian tube. Like it goes against everything that we know. Alright? When a soul wants to be here, that soul's gonna come through. So it's important to understand that no baby is a mistake. No baby is a mistake. But there might be a lot of sort of trauma that has gone along with your, you know, your conception, your being in the womb, your upbringing, and that can cause a very adverse effect in your life. And this baby in the womb healing is exceptional for that. I'm telling you, it changed my life forever. It changed my life forever. It was the first time in my entire life. It was the night before I turned 42, so it was, and I actually said I want to get, and I'm only actually thinking about it now, but I said to Source a couple of months ago, I want to have clarity on this before I turn 42, even if it's on the 11th hour, and that's exactly what I got, you know. Now that I think about it, it's so amazing when you think of the harmony and all those things working together. But it was such an empowering thing to me, such a freeing to me. It was the first night in my entire life. Now think about this. I am 1 day away from 42. It was the first night in my entire life, sorry about the dogs, that I really slept fully, that I really slept completely peacefully. And I'm so happy to say that on the morning of my 42nd birthday, I woke up and there was complete peace within me. And it was wonderful because it was no longer the peace that surpassed all understanding. And then obviously I understood why I was always told not to ask my parents about it, because they would have been like, what are you talking about? You know, they didn't know about it. Okay. Was my mother happy, when you were born? Or was she overwhelmed? What was your reception like? Remember, it's a difficult thing for a person to get a baby. There's no small task. I mean, like literally, the woman portal is literally a gateway to a new world for you, to a new dimension. When you think about it, you sort of die, so to speak, in the womb, paradise, to go into a broader consciousness, a broader paradise, a broader space of reality that's there. And when we die, we go again to the next. So when you look at tarot, for example, with the death card, it is about transformation, it's about expansion, which could be painful. So in that sense, a lot of times when we're going through a painful experience, you might actually be reborn. And there were times in my life when I felt, I was convinced that I was a mistake, that God must have made a mistake. I tried to commit suicide so many times. And actually, I was saying to one of the beautiful people in my class, I would have this experience several times. I'm talking about like probably up to 30 times in my life, that I forever had that I was being driven over by a car, killed by a car. And, I would have this experience that I would come around the corner and all of a sudden there would be a car in front of me. It's always like a truck or something, like these big sort of trucks, farmers' trucks. And I would say, oh, this is how it ends for me. And then I would maybe be on the other side of the road. I would have no idea how that happened. And it wasn't until then, so until the day of my birthday, that I actually realized that I died many times in this, in many lives. So I've had a lot of incarnations in this life, like little deaths, they call them, So we get it a lot when you are sort of like an ascended master, because you remember who you are quickly. Because remember, one of the deals of coming here is that you forget who you are. Okay? But then at some point you need to remember. And by dying, you kind of like remember. Okay? This is so cool. When I heard this, I really liked this. It says that it was the custom of the ancient Hawaiians never to say a bad word around the woman who was pregnant. It was thought that if you got in an argument with your spouse when she was pregnant, there would be punishment after the birth. Before Christians settled on the islands, the people believed that a baby needed to have the best chance of survival possible, and it had to be born and raised surrounded by good energy and good vibrations. Wouldn't it be cool if the world can just be like that? And I believe that we're going back to that again. All right? What were your parents talking about when you were born? And you will get a broader understanding with this when you watch the video. I still have to make it about free floating memories. That is a very, very powerful one. You really want to watch that video. So if you're not subscribed to the channel and you haven't hit on notifications, you want to do that so that you are informed when that video actually is released, because it's powerful. Was there excitement and welcome energy, or were they fighting? Were they pleased that you were coming? When you arrived, was it warm? Were you taken away from your mother? Never understood why people do that. Were you breastfed? All these memories are kept inside your body. And this is something that is so amazing, that even if you know this, every time I hear this or every time I share this, it is just such an amazing thing for me, that when a baby drinks the mother's milk, or a baby is cuddled by the mother, then baby stares in the mother's eyes. A lot of times you will see that babies and mothers will almost like naturally stare into each other's eyes, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. I speak about that in the Healing the Broken Soul video that I did just before this one, so check that out. There's links for all the videos already made in the description. The eyes are the windows to the soul, but then by that bonding, and this is how amazing genetics is that the mother's body will understand what it is that the baby needs, and things like nutrients and that sort of stuff, and then produce that through the mother's milk. So when the baby drinks the mother's milk, it gets what it needs. Isn't that amazing? And something quite incredible is that when I was a baby, I refused to drink. I refused to drink formula milk. I mean, I was literally just a newborn child. Now, of course, I had that whole experience, and so it's almost like I refused to put anything processed in my system right from the start. Not gonna fucking do it. I literally refused, to the point that the nurses they were like, well, mommy, you're just gonna have to give him breast milk because he needs to eat, and he refused it. Like I outright refused to take formula milk. I wouldn't take it. That's how powerful the consciousness is, and that's how powerful your consciousness is. All right, it's amazing. Of course, this is obviously not a knock on mothers who breast or who formula feed. I mean, there's many things that go along with that. And again, getting a baby is no small feat. I've got so much respect for women, because it's not a small feat at all. Any mothers, humans, dogs, fish, it's amazing. When you think about it, you are this tiny being. And did you know that out of the, with the average ejaculation, there's nearly 1 million sperm cells released, which means there are nearly 1 million possibilities of who you can be. But then it's always been believed that the strongest swimmer, kind of get to like sort of like merge with the egg cell first. But the egg cell has an intention for the life, and then it sends out a signal. So it sort of like, almost like repels the other, sort of like sperm cells, and kind of like welcome this one to it. So you were chosen for a purpose from your very being. You were chosen. When you let that sink in, there are no mistakes. You were chosen for a purpose. For a higher purpose. It's amazing. And all these memories are kept inside of the body. Every word that was said at the time has been absorbed. What words made you feel inadequate, not worthy, guilty, wonderful, and proud of yourself? And a lot of times how we can, now of course I always caution against self-diagnosis or even diagnosing just others. But, and if you feel that you have any sort of mental health issues and you need professional help, I'll be open to that if I were you. But then again, be very careful of not just getting yourself, quickly medicated and diagnosed and stuff like that, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I'm bipolar, So I would always say try to work with medical practitioners that are taking a more enlightened approach to things. Okay? Don't just want to throw the book at you. From the moment you are conceived, you are aware of everything around you because you are consciousness. Okay? Your mother's feelings and beliefs are often brought to you in the womb. And I think this is the thing that really sort of like really kind of like accumulates to that really close bond between mother and child. Because this child was living inside of you. This child was part of you. Watching your child out there is like watching a part of you walking around out there. I mean, when I got the levity of this, it was just amazing. And the amazing thing about it is no matter how much I get the levity, because I will never be a mother in my life, I still won't get the levity, but the part of the levity that I get is amazing. All right? Your mother's feelings and beliefs are often brought to you in the womb. You can feel her traumatic thoughts, feelings of not wanting a child, fears of being overwhelmed, and other stresses, and they will affect your noradrenaline and serotonin levels. And alcohol and drugs also affect the fetus's mental health and physical development. And sometimes the mother doesn't know she's pregnant, And so with baby in the womb healing, it is such a beautiful thing because, and it's something that I like to include in a session, in case I'm in case I'm told not to by the creator, then I won't. But it's also like it's one of those things that like a standalone session that you can do. And what's really amazing about the sending love in the baby womb, like baby in the womb thing, is that you can actually do it for anybody that's in your genetic line. So of course, with everything you need to get permission. You need to get permission if you can't just go and sort of like download energy patterns for other people and stuff like that, because you've got free will or free agency, as they call it in Theta Healing, and you have to respect that. But your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your uncle, your like anybody within your biological genetic lineage, you can perform a baby in the womb healing for them, sending love to the baby in the womb, or you can ask a practitioner to do it for you. The practitioner will still check with the creator. All right. So just to let you know that it is something that I would do as a standalone, that I would offer as a standalone session if you already had a full session. I wouldn't just start with that. But just to also let you know that even if you do it from the best of intentions, the practitioner might still get a no for the other person, but then you can do it on yourself and everybody else will benefit. This is something amazing that I used to have with my Reiki students. Because a lot of times, obviously, we come from strong religious bonds and things like that. You might be concerned about your family. But when you change, everything else changes. It's amazing. And when you are no longer apprehensive towards what you do, your family is somehow fine. It's amazing. Okay? Because life is a mirror reflection of you. Okay? It's amazing. It really, really is. And then, of course, there's the question about what if a person has been adopted? And this is again how amazing the human body is. The expression of the universe, the soul itself in human form is. That if you are sort of like adopted at birth, your genetics adapts and kind of like even copies that of your family. Because it's intelligence. Isn't it amazing? It's the same thing when the mother looks in the eyes of the baby. And I'm telling you, a baby, sending love to the baby in the womb, healing experience can be so, so powerful. It is so freeing because remember, you come into this world with a lot of genetics, a lot of pathology, a lot of stuff, a lot of baggage really. You come with your genetic blueprint, your genetic baggage, so all the way generations back. And we all come from something. Come from slavery, oppression, all sorts of things, rape and pillage and burning the witches, and we all come from stuff. We all come from fear. Fear is one of those things, if you live in this world, you're going to get it. It just comes with the deal. It's part of the package, But, so, with baby in the womb healing, and the reason why this works, so you can be 80 years old and have a baby in the womb healing. Or sending love to the baby in the womb, because remember, time doesn't exist. Time is it's a construct that is here on planet Earth so that we are able to live here, to be able to see each other. Because if everything is just now and everything is sped up and everything is in slow down and isn't like in the linear space of time, we wouldn't be able to do this right now, nor would we need to. Because outside of time, there's nothing to learn, because everything just is. You know what I'm saying? Isn't it amazing? All right, so it says that this exercise is an amazing healing process. It can benefit many diseases such as alcohol fetal syndrome, bipolar disorder, attention deficit order, and autism, and may simply eliminate them altogether. It also seems to help with the psychological effects of epilepsy, asthma, and other things that are related to the formation of the fetus in the womb. Did you get that? Instant healings is a thing with Theta Healing. It's like pretty much the norm. It doesn't always mean that it's going to happen, because remember, the soul has also got its own plan. All right? But it's quite a thing. It's quite amazing. Again, don't self-diagnose. Don't go and diagnose others. And I would say, as a practitioner, you never want to say to people, oh, don't go and see your doctor. That quack doesn't know what they're talking about, The medical field is a miracle, because 100 years ago, things that they can cure just like this, choop, 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 would have killed you back then. Okay, let's respect it. Let's respect the practitioners. Let's respect the therapists and the psychologists and the psychiatrists. They all contribute greatly to this world. Okay. some babies, and I think that when we say like, I know better and they don't know better, they don't know what they're doing, I think it's really just ego. Okay. Some babies start out as twins, so this is what I had. But nature only allows about 1/3 of the twins that are conceived to be born. This sometimes causes severe loneliness in the remaining twin, which I had, and let me tell you, severe as in severe. Nothing really fills you. Nothing. Nothing. It's like this excessive grief for no pinpointable reason. You can't tell people what's up. And when you try to explain to them, they think that you like cuckoo, This loneliness can follow a person throughout their life, but this exercise will take care of it. It also sends the energy of the other child to the light. Because as long as we have this sadness and this twin, especially when you are sort of like a biological twin, so it's the same, sort of like egg cell and sperm cell formation that made two babies, or like in the same bag, so to speak, that it can be incredibly lonely because it's literally a part of you. It's like the mother with the child. The child is part of you, so maybe I can, in a way, get the levity of it, of how it feels like you're missing a part of yourself, literally. There's nothing romanticizable about it. It's not. It's hard. You can do this exercise on yourself, on your children, or on your parents, realizing, of course, that they have free agency as to whether they accept it or not. So that is also the other thing. Remember, as I said, that you can do it for someone else, but there's still free will. Just because somebody's part of your twin doesn't mean that sort of like, you kind of have this volition over them. All right? And this is quite cool. It says that this is one of the few exercises you can do without the verbal acceptance of a family member. This is because those you are genetically connected to will either unconsciously accept or deny the healing that is being sent to them. This exercise did amazing things to my relationship with my mother. This is amazing. Especially, so if you are struggling with, with your relationship with your parents or with your child or sibling or anything like that, this can be a really powerful exercise. It can be a really powerful exercise, and it's quick, it's a quick one. Like, you can have a half-hour session for this and your whole life can be changed within that half an hour. With that being said, it's obviously not recommended that you rush things, ever. It is how fathers, mothers, and the children come together after many years of arguments and dissension. I suggest you use it on your clients and on yourself. With clients, you must have the verbal consent to do this exercise. But with Theta Healing use, there's often a lot of, can I do this? And you have to say yes to it, because when you say yes, it's really, really powerful. All right. So if you are in a space where you kind of feel very displaced in this world and you can't find your way and you can't find direction and you feel like you're missing someone and something is very lost in this world, you might need a baby in the womb healing session. But then again, I also say that with healing the broken soul, video in the previous one. So there are many things that you can do in Theta Healing. So if you're a little on the fence about it, I would say book yourself one session with a client that resonates with you. I do my sessions both in person and online, and I really love both. I really do. It's amazing. I just really love people. I always have loved people, so I would always prefer to do things in person. But I have done some online things and they have been astounding and they've been very healing. It's amazing. But here's the thing. I will say to you, book a session. You've got nothing to lose and so much to gain. And you may find that there is more than enough that you need, which is perfectly fine. Or you may want to have a couple of sessions, which is perfectly fine. You may be, you know, sort of like a couple, and this could be like a romantic couple, friends, colleagues, whatever, neighbors having disputes, and you're both open to it. Maybe you can both have a session. You may actually find that you are mirroring each other in the craziest of ways. And maybe you have been placed together in your soul plan, placed together to help each other ascend. You know, so in that way, even fighting could be you opening yourself to a different direction for you to remember who you are. Because, you know, if maybe if life is all too easy breezy, chillaxy, easy, you know, then you won't do it. So that is really something to consider. And I would honestly, with all sincerity and from the highest and best of intentions, you know, in alignment with the truth and perspective of all that is in the Creator, I would recommend one of these sessions. Because I've seen what it done for me in the short period of time. I've seen what it done for others. Even when you take the coaching, you see healing in this coaching, soul families coming together. So definitely something to consider. So thank you for your time. Energy, love, and light. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to connecting with you.